Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
I am so glad we're going to talk about this topic today because we deal with it from time to time. It can be challenging. You can feel lost. I'm talking about loneliness and what it really is, how to deal with it. And that's through the eyes of an amazing life coach that helps people move their life forward all the time. And this is a very personal situation for her. I'm talking about Laurie Kroeger, who joins us once again. How you doing today?
I'm great. How are you today?
I'm great. And this whole topic is definitely one of those that people don't often talk about being lonely. But interestingly, if you take a look at men between the ages of roughly 25 and 35, I'm seeing that that is one of the top demographics of people who are lonely. And you would think it's the complete opposite. Men hanging out with their buds, maybe playing golf, basketball, hanging out at a brewery, whatever you would think. But no, it's the other way around. Why? I don't have that answer. Um, Loneliness today we're going to talk about, and this is based on a social media post that you did, right?
It is. It is. And if it's okay, I would just like to read that
Please.
because it came out so well and had it was well received. So if it's okay,
Please,
I'll go ahead and read that for you.
please do.
It says, I have felt the loneliness of wanting to hang out with friends, but not feeling important enough to invite them. I have felt the disappointment of not being invited. I have felt the sting of rejection when I finally decided to invite someone to get together. These feelings of not being important, not feeling accepted, or just not being enough are real. They are a trauma response. I used to take these events very personally, wondering what was wrong with me. What I've discovered is that it's not about me. I have friends who have felt the exact same things. Maybe she's too busy for me. Maybe I shouldn't bother her. What if she says no? She has so many other friends. She doesn't need me. Everyone has experienced this loneliness. Take the first steps. Invite your friends out. Say yes when you can. Make a plan. Create time. Often we feel the need to entertain, to be funny, or to keep it fun. Sometimes a quiet walk in the park with a good friend is all you need. If they say no, understand that it's not about you. If you never ask, the answer will always be no. Let's create connections and remind ourselves that we are important and we are valued.
Lots to digest there.
There is. And I realized after kind of writing this that, I have a world of friends now, and it's taken me time to build those connections and build those relationships. And I've discovered that authenticity is the most important. And in my book, Loving You is Easy, Loving Me is Hard, one of the things that I talked about was that lack of a feeling of belonging. And so I got involved with drugs because they liked me. As long as I was buying from them, as long as I had something to share, I belonged. And when you don't have that connection, that loneliness just gets exasperated. And that was not a healthy place to be.
Do you feel that when we feel alone, it's also a trauma response from something in our past? Like, let's say your parents got divorced when you were very young. So you have abandonment challenges deep within. So it's exasperated when you feel that, oh yeah, I'm alone. Like everybody's busy. I got nothing. I'm by myself today. And I'm over dramatizing it, but I'm just trying to send the point there.
It really is that feeling of not being worthy, of not being enough. I'm not good enough to hang out with these people. I'm not important enough to hang out with so-and-so. it often comes down to that phrase that we used last time, children are to be seen but not heard. And the loss of our voice. There's so many different aspects of trauma that comes inside of that loneliness. It's hard to just pinpoint one.
It's hard to take steps and action too, because maybe you've gotten beat down, if you will, over time of people canceling and not being available. And now it's like, probably would be best to join a group of could be even be a singles group. Doesn't mean you're looking to date. It's just people who are single.
Yeah.
Or a number of them. And you could do that on Facebook, but then you have to take the next step. They have events all the time. You have to go to events. And now you see it in your mind, like, I'm going to show up and I'm going to be like, nobody's talking to me. Awkward. Got to get out of here. It's tough to get past that.
I did that just in networking events. It was bad. I would go in and I would poke the bear for just a second and then I'd run because I didn't feel that I had enough intelligence to have a good conversation. I wasn't good enough.
Yep.
Nobody there knew me. I wasn't important. I wasn't the spotlight of attention, and God knows I didn't want it.
Sure.
So there was a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety, that fear of judgment, the anxiety that comes with, just not knowing what that future holds. And so I had to work really hard to
You cut out for just a second there, but I got it. What the future holds, that's anxiety. You're thinking about what it's going to be like. I don't mean you, it's just in general, but we all do this. Instead of living in the moment, I'm going to this event, see how it's going to go. I'm going to meet people and that's it. But we think about, well, what if? Well, what if? And I do it, but I've turned it around to when I go to a networking event, what it's going to be like. I visualize, what are people going to be wearing? What's the vibe going to be? Who might be there? What might we talk about? What's relatable today? All right, well, here in the Northeast, I don't want to call it a heat wave, but record-breaking potential temperatures. It's something that we can all relate to. I look at it that way, so I feel like I've already been there, and it's more comforting if I don't know anybody. But even if I do know somebody, I want to be dressed properly, not under, not over. I always look at it this way: dress a little bit over. You never want to be underdressed. But yeah, a lot of this comes from the I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy enough mentality, which goes back to our childhood. That's my belief. What do you think?
It absolutely is. And I've come up with 3 mantras that I realize that I say to myself on a pretty consistent basis. And so it's one of the fears that we have in building relationships is that I'm going to get hurt. I've been hurt in the past, so I'm going to put up this wall and I'm not going to let people in because of that fear of getting hurt. And so I use this mantra that says, I do not worry about getting hurt because I have learned to handle my emotions. I know it's not about me. And then
Love that.
The anxiety that comes with it and the judgment that we often fear. I use I do not get anxious about the judgment of others. I have learned to trust in myself. And learning to trust in who we are and what we believe and what our values is creates a level of confidence that you don't need other people.
That's the aha moment right there. It's nice to have others,
Yes.
but you need to get to the point where you've got you. You'll never be alone. You always have you, but you need to be comfortable with you. And many of us aren't. And I'll tell you, I'm always hanging with somebody. I'm always doing something. I don't do enough. I don't do enough by myself. I'm not even kidding. Um, and it was 2 years ago. I was faced with eating dinner alone for the first time. I know it sounds ridiculous. I'm being transparent. So I'm right here. It's like 8 o'clock at night. And I'm like, well, I got to go home, but I got to get something to eat. I got to finish up a project. So I went to Applebee's and it was awkward, like walking in and I'm real, all right, I look like the loser, at the bar, but there's other people by themselves there.
Mhm.
I have to tell you, that was the best meal I've ever had because I realized that I focused on the flavor of the meal. There's a basic chicken dish and that beer. I didn't have to give attention to anybody else. It was like amazing. It's wonderful. It was like, whoa, I'll never forget it. I will never forget it because it was so impactful. Um, and you've shared a couple of phrases. I pilot by all I need is within me now. All I need is within me now. We have everything we need. It's you guys, nobody's going to take care of you better than you. Nobody's going to love you better than you or should. You need to get to that point. I know that's not easy. Sometimes we don't feel like we're worthy enough of that. But once you get to that point, the the loneliness is manageable. And it's always there's going to be times where people aren't available. You want to go out, well, then just go out. It's okay. It could be a new experience, but then you have to be open to like tonight. I don't know. Usually I have stuff going on. Everybody's busy. I could text, hey, but a part of me is like, I'm blank and tired. I just want to chill. I might just take my dog and like walk into town. Might be great. I never do it. I never do it. So I think that's what I'm going to do tonight. It's all good.
I found actual comfort in even going to a movie by myself. I get to sit and really enjoy
Yeah.
the movie
Yep.
and not have to worry about having a conversation about it afterwards.
Right.
I
Right.
can just sit and watch and I can laugh or I can cry and I don't worry about the criticism of somebody else. It's like, oh, I really liked that movie. Oh God, I hated that. How could you like that?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You
Or
know?
worry about their comfort because I'm an empath. They're all admitted. And now it's like, do you need anything to drink? Are you good? Like, no, no.
Yeah. So funny story. I actually invited, I had won some free tickets to a comedy show. And so I invited like 6 of my friends to go to this comedy show with me. And the whole time I was sitting there going, oh my God, are they finding this funny? Is it okay? Did I invite the wrong people? Was this the wrong, that fear of the criticism that, oh my God, why did you invite me to this? That was horrible. And it really truly was horrible. It was the worst comedy show I've ever been to. But that internal brain, that mind mob was hijacking my ability to have a good time, regardless of how horrible the comedians were. It hijacked my mind,
Mm-hmm. I get it.
and that fear of criticism. And it was like, so, the last of the mantras is actually based in that criticism. And it's just that I don't fear criticism because I have learned to accept my imperfections and accept my mistakes and learn from them.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that, even afterwards, I joked about, those fears of the criticism and everybody had a wonderful time. It was more about what was going on in my head. And then that fear of, oh my gosh, should I never invite them out again? That was horrible.
Totally get it.
It's
Yes.
the way we speak to ourselves is just crazy.
We would never say the
Crazy.
things that we say to ourselves, whether it's verbally or just in our mind to somebody you love. We wouldn't do it. So if we're to love ourselves and we should, we wouldn't be using that language. We wouldn't walk up to somebody and say, oh, look at that on your forehead. You look horrible today. Oh, right. You gained weight too. Great. We'd never do that. We'd never do that.
And again, that's one of those things that I talk about in our book, in my book, is that, when we're starting to learn to love ourselves, the one thing that we see often is that, I can love everybody else a lot more than I love myself.
Mm-hmm.
But the truth is that love is inside of us. And we just need to turn that inward. You can't give it if you don't have it.
That's it. And it's a cliche. You hear it all the time, but it's true. And when you finally have the aha moment, like it sounds like you did, and I have, I get it now. All right. But many of us don't, most of us don't love ourselves. Um, it almost feels like you're not supposed to because it looks like you have an ego. Like, oh, look, full of themselves, must love yourself. Well, no, we need to. It's all part of that. Um, I love your I love what you wrote on Facebook and other places where it showed up because it's real. You were being extremely authentic about it. Was
It
there
was
a
a painful
moment?
point in my life.
Was that a recent writing?
So
Um,
I did write it recently. It was just something that I was reflecting on as I was doing some of my journaling and, some of those mindfulness pieces where you reflect on where you've been and where you are. And I focused on, I'm not lonely anymore. There are times where I just absolutely need some downtime. Like you, I'm an empath and big crowds just wear me out. So sometimes I'm only there for an hour.
mhm.
And if the energy is really, really low and there's not enough other people to help me bring it up, because I walk in with let's do this, let's go, but if there's just so much of the negative energy, I won't last long. I'm like, okay, this is not right. This is not for me. And this is not where I'm going to meet my people.
Yep, yep. And you know it. You get to a point, whether you're an empath or not, to read energy, and you can feel that something's not right here, and it's time to go. However you're going to do that, make an excuse. Well, yeah, I'm not feeling well, got to get out of here because you don't want to take that energy on. And I recently met somebody at a networking event, and the energy was amazing, like amazing. Um, Somebody drop in.
Nope, I was checking something out. I had another quote that I had
Ah,
found,
okay, cool.
and I was just going to see if I could find it.
To the point of doing things with other people, it's all good, but let's be honest, it's work. It's work when you're setting up plans with other people. I'm doing that right now. For tomorrow night, we're going to go on a moonlight kayaking excursion.
Ooh, I want to go.
Come on, I got an extra kayak, and it's been, at what time? How many did you get in touch with the place? They haven't called me back. Is there a group on? Blah blah blah. There's it must be 50 texts between just the three of us that are going to go. Do you have an extra kayak? Don't forget, you have to bring lights. Blah blah blah, blah, blah. Like it's going to be fun, but it was a lot of work. It wasn't just if I was going by myself, just like, all right, done. I'm all set. There you go, paid and done. Show up at a certain time. It is work when you connect with other people. So I mean, that's just that. Not saying that's bad, but that comes along with the territory. So it seems like you found something.
I did.
What do you got?
So Jodi Picoult wrote a book called My Sister's Keeper. And in my book, I quoted this. It says, "Let me tell you this. If you meet a loner, no matter what they tell you, it's not because they enjoy solitude. It is because they have tried to blend into the world before and people continued to disappoint them."
Hmm. Hmm.
When you think about that in that context of loneliness, it is that fear of other being disappointed again, that fear of getting hurt. It just popped into my brain, and I'm sorry I went squirrel on that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, there's a lot of validation in that. And I try to look at that and process it for what it is because I don't want to look at it in a negative way. If another person's going to hurt, not great. They're going to say one thing and do another thing. You don't want to look at it. You don't want to come jaded. But at the same time, if you've dealt with that before of those disappointments, you put up the wall. You're very protective and careful. And I don't know if that's a good thing. What do you think?
You know, there are times where you feel like you really need that protection. But if the wall is solid, you can't get out.
Yeah. And no one can come in.
Not only can you not let other people in, or you won't, you're stuck. You can't penetrate that wall any more than anybody else can until you start breaking down the wall.
Yep.
And in order to break down that wall, you're going to endure some hurt. You're going to endure disappointment. And learning how to handle those moments is how you're going to get through to that next step. You're going to build those relationships and you're going to find your people.
So now you shared that you've been to networking events, sometimes a little uncomfortable. Other things you've done to connect with others. Some you can share?
So I have joined like nonprofit groups, a group I'm sure many have heard, Kiwanis. I have made many friends through Kiwanis with like-minded individuals who are there to help children, to build connections. There are a lot of different areas in which you can contribute your expertise. And even if you're just there to help package food for handing out to the homeless, you're building connections and you're doing something that is worthwhile to you. So finding those areas and opportunities to contribute into your community helps to build connection. It frees up that loneliness.
But it's dual-fold because they say when you give back, you get it back. So now imagine doing that, helping others, and then meeting like-minded people at the same time. It's like there's a win, right?
Yes, 100%.
Hmm. And who's going to say no? Hey, I want to volunteer to help you guys out. No, no, that's not going to happen. Unless there's a quota and there's only so much space, but that's rare
Right.
that's going to happen. I joined a men's group about 13 weeks ago. And it's kind of just what you said. We're like-minded. It's about leadership, improving yourself, also community service as well, and accountability, because we're all watching out for each other. You have commitments every week. This is what do you want to accomplish? Here it is. And we connect every day with the different man. Well, you have two of us converse once a day for a week, and then it's another man you get paired with, and it's been great. It's everybody's helping each other out, and the community service aspect of it. And you know what? Above and beyond, I know they have my back if something's up, and I've got theirs. Somebody makes a call. Listen, I got a problem. Can you help out? I'll be right there. Don't worry, I got it. Just knowing. And anybody can join. I mean, we're looking for members all the time, because we want to help others. And I'll be honest with you, when I first joined, again, 13 weeks, and I can't tell you how much stuff I've done in 13 weeks. I thought it was a cult. We're so not. Even my friends had said, "Oh, you're joining a cult." I'm like, I don't know, but it wasn't. It totally wasn't. It was just helpful and empowering. But that's just one example of so many things out there.
It is, and there's a ton of opportunity if
Yeah.
you focus on it and you open your eyes to see them.
Yeah. But you have to believe in yourself and believe that you have something to offer, because we all do. Like you said before, walking into the networking event where it was uncomfortable and, you poke the bear and you run, you have something to offer. You do. We all do. And feel proud about that. Maybe it's a different perspective. It could be a room of life coaches. You've got a different view than others have. And everybody shares their view, and that's what makes everybody stronger. So we
It
have
was really, really funny. There was a friend of mine who actually said, "Hey, Laurie, I need a dose of positivity. Do you want to come hang out?"
well, there you know what?
Because that's what I bring. I bring that joy. And even on a cloud rainy day, I'm going to smile through it.
Yep.
So my next book is going to be something like Smile Now, Cry Later. I don't know. I don't know what
Well,
that's going to look like, but
I have to believe
it
that
really is.
even a book of your inspirational social posts would be great. Like the one you shared today. If somebody's dealing with a lot of the stuff we're talking about, want to clean up their life, declutter it, move forward, if they're feeling kind of stuck for whatever reason, how can they connect with you?
They can jump right on to Visible Potential. So www.visiblepotential.com. They can find me on Facebook, and I will absolutely respond to a message. Yeah, they can send me an email at Laurie@visiblepotential.com and just start engaging in that conversation. And let's see where we can take that.
Yeah. And don't be afraid. It's okay. You deserve it to move your life forward and make a connection. Hey, not every relationship's going to work. You're not right for everybody, vice
No.
versa. But you need to take the first step to know whether, it's one that's going to work.
It is, absolutely.
Thanks for being here today. Thanks for sharing that post and the authenticity that came from it. It's something we all deal with.
It is. And
Yeah.
I appreciate you letting me really focus on that today, because it felt right.
Yeah.
Like something that needed to be talked about. And
it needed to be talked about. And not a lot of people talk about it. So I appreciate it. And we'll catch up very soon, maybe even tomorrow.
sounds great.
All right.
Hopefully I'll have a guest. I'm working on that.
Work on that. Boy, don't be lonely. Get a guest.
That's right.
Bring him to the party. All right. We'll talk soon.
Sounds great.
Thanks.
Thank
All
you.
right. We'll be right back.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.